Also, why don't y'all just adopt? Do you know how many dogs need to be adopted, but you're out here cloning dogs? Hi, and welcome back to me talking about whatever I want. Today I want to talk about people cloning their dogs, because apparently that's... How can I not talk about that? But before I get into that, I'd like to do my comment shout out from my last video. This comment actually goes out to Fuchsia Blushes, who says, "Wow, low-key forgot that your actual account exists." Now, if you're wondering what this means, this comment is actually not from this channel, but from my main channel. I just uploaded a brand new video yesterday there, and that's why I didn't upload here. I was excited to finally get something up on the main channel, and it's doing really well, which I always appreciate, but I might actually be more excited for tomorrow's video on this channel. It's been a long time coming, but I'm doing my next album review on none other than BTS. Anyway, I really don't know how to feel about today's video. Usually when I sit down to make these videos, I'm very set on what I want to say, and I already know exactly how I feel, but in this case, what is happening? People are cloning their dogs, and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be okay with that, or just act like it's not weird, or... Is it weird? Late dog that saved pregnant owner from deadly accident cloned to meet the children he saved. When I saw this headline, I almost didn't click into it. I read that and I was like, no, this is too much. But I should have gone with my first mind. So apparently this couple, David and Alicia Sherhart, had this Labrador named Marley. They were all three of them out on this hike. Well, 3.5, because I think Alicia was pregnant. But then it says, all of a sudden, Marley darted out in front of me and started clawing the ground where Alicia was reaching out her hand. And as it turns out, Alicia was reaching out towards a venomous snake. So yeah, if that dog hadn't darted in front of her, she most likely would have been bitten. It says, we were on a hill with no people around, far from home, and Alicia was pregnant. It could have been disastrous. So I think that's amazing. Dog literally saved not only Alicia's life, but also their unborn child, and lived to tell about it. He didn't get bitten, nobody was bitten, everything was cool. I was cool. I was like, wow, this article is amazing. Finally, some good news. Until I saw this sentence. Before Marley died, Sherhart learned about Viagen Pets and Equine, a company that will preserve your pet's cells and clone a beloved furry friend. So yeah, apparently their dog was 12 years old when this was going on, which is obviously hella old for a dog. And sadly, after they finally had that kid that the dog pretty much saved, the dog got cancer and then passed away. And I think the timing of it all is just so sad, you know what I mean? But then all those feelings were just replaced with quiet horror, because instead of, you know, being sad and saying, oh, this is sad, and then moving on, they just waited a couple years and then cloned their dog. They had one kid after the pregnancy, so they had 2 kids, and they wanted them to be old enough to remember their new Marley, so they decided to stop having kids and clone the dog. They knew that Marley's clone was going to be their next child for some time. That's the worst wording I've ever heard in my entire life. So this popped up in my feed and I had a crisis. I'm a firm believer that you should be able to do anything you want with your money as long as it's not, you know, negatively affecting others. But is cloning your dog negatively affecting him? And apparently this company that did clone their dog is the only one in America that can do that. So I went to the website. So here we are on viagenpets.com, giving them free promo right now. The worldwide leader in cloning the animals we love. I keep wavering between, oh, this is nice, no, please make it stop. And here at the top we have a collection of cloned animals, all with their own Instagram handles, because why not? Learn more about how pet cloning works. Watch our short video. Sure. Who knows? Maybe after I educate myself on how it works, I'll feel better about it. I don't know why I said that. We all know that's not happening.
So let's meet the Anderson family and their pet, Buddy. Buddy is a smart, playful 12-year-old golden retriever.
Okay, I'm with this so far. You know, it's a cute family, and their dog is hella old.
As Buddy got older, the Andersons decided to preserve Buddy's genes. Their vet performed a small tissue biopsy, a minor procedure for Buddy, and sent the sample to Viagen for genetic preservation.
But like, why did they decide to do that? Why was their first thought, let me genetically preserve my dog? You know what I mean? I feel like I'm walking such a fine line, because on the one hand, you don't want to just straight up ignore the fact that these people are obviously grieving and sad that their dog is about to die. But on the other hand, trying to clone it so you can still have like a similar version of you. The more I explain it, just the weirder I feel about it. Also, why don't y'all just adopt? Do you know how many dogs need to be adopted? But you're out here cloning dogs?
Soon, the embryo is transferred to a surrogate mother who, after a typical gestation, will give birth to Buddy 2.
No, all right, no, it's creepy. That's it. That's my opinion. Buddy 2, a typical gestation period. That's honestly such a weird process. Like you're making some random dog carry a clone baby. That way you can feel better. I don't know about this one.
Buddy's clone. None of Buddy's genes were changed, so Buddy 2 is really like Buddy's identical twin brother, just born at a later time.
That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And it definitely doesn't make me feel any better. You know, I feel like Buddy, I don't know why I'm talking about him like he's a real dog. He's our example dog. But let's just say I knew this dog. I feel like Buddy had a good life, right? Like, just leave Buddy alone. I'm just gonna be honest. If I live for like 60 more years and it's that time, y'all had better not even think about finding some way to keep me here. I would be ready to go. And I feel like if a dog is like 12, 13, 14 years old, he might just be ready to go. You know what I mean? Honestly, that just sounds really harsh. But like, I don't know. Bro, this is the trickiest video I've ever recorded in my entire life. No, probably the BTS album review is. But other than that, one thing I don't like about this site is that it's so impersonal. They're saying things like Buddy 2 and gestation period, initiate cloning. Like, we are talking about a living being, right? Like, if my theoretical dog was a person, I would feel horrible saying things like, oh yeah, he had a gestation period in some random dog because we initiated cloning at Viagen. I mean, have you ever met a dog? They basically are people. Like, they have personalities. Some would even say they have souls if you're into that sort of thing. I mean, they're not just animals, right? They're pets. I am so stressed out right now. Anyway, on this website, I see that they're actually linking to another case. Special report, meet Fendi, a Las Vegas woman's cloned dog. So apparently this case follows a woman named Jordan Goldblatt, and as you can see, she has a whole lot of accolades because she's a professional Doberman trainer. She has raised, bred, and kept a few Dobermans for herself. Goldblatt currently takes care of 3. One of them is a clone. It's written so matter-of-factly. Now, whereas before I could bring myself to understand the shoes of a family who wants their kid to grow up around the dog that saved their life, so they cloned him. Jordan Goldblatt's reasoning is honestly just really creepy. So the Doberman in question was named Ripley. Ripley died in 2012. Years before that, Jordan knew someday she'd want to make a copy of her prize winner. I knew that she wasn't going to be the same, but that she would be similar, Goldblatt said. Honestly, that's just weird. So basically you had the perfect dog and you want another perfect dog. The surrogacy is very interesting, Dr. Hagstedt said. Ripley's clone was put into a large breed dog. We didn't get to meet the dog or know anything else about her. Like, how do you get to decide that Ripley is so important that you're gonna make another one of her, but like the dog that you're forcing to carry, Ripley 2.0, is you're not even gonna find out her name. This whole thing is just starting to feel really weird. So if that's not enough to horrify you, this article was very similar to the other article, but this one had the price. Apparently, both of these people paid $50,000 to clone their dog. $50,000. Veterinarians said it was double that price just a few years ago, so they think it won't be long before cloning is more affordable. Maybe let's not make it more affordable. How about you put the price back up to 100K? First of all, how do you have $50,000 to spend? Clearly, I'm not rich enough to understand the thought process here. Also, why is Viagen charging $50,000? If the price dropped from $100,000 to $50,000, then clearly this wasn't worth $100,000, right? So do you really expect me to believe that it's actually worth $50,000? Viagen is just charging these people insane amounts of money because they can't. In fact, I was starting to pick up some really weird vibes. I went back to that initial article that I read, Late Dog City Pregnant Owner from Deadly Accident. So it's in People magazine, right? And it came out on February 18th. So I went back and read through it objectively without, the horror of seeing clone dogs. And that's when I realized it kind of feels like an advertisement. Like, first of all, this article didn't mention the price at all, which is typically best practice when you're trying to sell something that is priced ridiculously high. On top of that, they linked to Viagen. In fact, we already read the sentence. Viagen Pets and Equine, a company that will preserve your pet's cells and clone a beloved furry friend. Like, even if this isn't deliberate advertising, this is still just straight up free advertising. On top of that, the photos that they have are just like way too staged. Like, look at this photo right here with the Viagen employee literally looming in the background as the family is gathering around the dog like he's the second coming of Christ. This literally looks like a Renaissance painting. You honestly expect me to believe that this just happened? Look how calmly her hand is resting on top of the dog. She looks like God in that one painting. Like, this photo is just, it's straight up a Viagen ad. Listen to this quote. Viagen was just amazing. They made sure everything happened on track and we got a good sample. We were able to say goodbye to Marley knowing he was preserved. This is literally a testimonial in this supposed article. I'm feeling really weird about all of this. Here's the thing though. They got this dog on December 7th of last year, but this article came out February 18th of this year. The one about Findy, Ripley's clone. Ripley was literally cloned into existence in September of 2018. But for some reason, this article came out on February 20th. So these incidents happened years apart and months ago, but somehow they both popped up in the news within 2 days of each other. And one of the articles just straight up sounds like an ad. We have no idea how much money Viagen is actually pocketing. Like, what if it literally cost $2,000 to do the gene thing and then Viagen is just taking $48,000? You know what I think is starting to bother me? It's not the parents, the pet parents, you know, they're not kids, they're dogs, but you know what I mean. The families aren't bothering me. It's Viagen. Viagen is what's creeping me out here. See, look, right here on their website, right under the worldwide leader in cloning the animals we love, it says, take the first time critical step and order your genetic preservation biopsy kit. Time critical. In other words, hurry up, your dog's dying. See, the genetic preservation is only $1,600, and I think that's where they get you. Not everyone can pull together $50,000 for any expense, but a lot of people, if they worked hard enough over a long enough period of time, could muster up $1,600 for something as important as cloning your dog. So like, you make the $1,600 purchase while your dog's still alive and you're in your right mind, but then when your dog dies and you're grief stricken, you've now made it within the realm of possibility to bring your dog back, or a similar dog, your dog too, and all you have to do is pay $50,000. Like, Viagen is straight up capitalizing on people's grief over the loss of their pets. That's what's weird. That's the weird part. I think that's why I hate this. I mean, no matter how you look at it, it's just not healthy. I'm not a firm believer in the natural order, but things at least live and then die, right? Like, we can agree that that's natural. I mean, it's in the human I'm just using words that I don't understand because I don't know anything about psychology, but I am a human being and I know that things happen in seasons, and sometimes seasons end even if we weren't ready for them, and we have to move forward. You can't just bring your dog back. You know what I mean? I mean, would you clone a person? I love my parents a whole lot. And when they go, I honestly don't know what I would do, but I wouldn't want them to show up as babies. Oh, she looks just like her mom. Well, not her mom, but like her prototype. And also, I wouldn't want some random human being carrying people I know as embryos. I mean, would you clone a person? Well, no. Okay, don't answer that. Would you clone a dog? How about you let me know that in the comments, because for once, I don't know where I stand. But yeah, that's Viagen and pet cloning. Ultimately, it's a fascinating issue, and I'm sure it's just going to get more and more complicated as time goes on. But let's be honest, none of us have $50,000, so honestly, who cares?